Let's go over to the CBN News Desk for today's top stories.
Gordon polls show Mitt Romney pulling ahead of Newt Gingrich in the critical Florida primary tomorrow. But Gingrich says conservatives will eventually come together and support him. And he's campaigning hard to get the evangelical vote in the Sunshine State. David Brody has that story.
It's a story the media is trying to figure out. Why is Newt Gingrich doing so well among Christian voters despite a history of marital infidelity? It seems to start with forgiveness.
Nobody's perfect. You know, we all have, a history of backgrounds of mistakes, and I think he's corrected a lot of mistakes in his past.
What does that say to you, the sentiment of forgiveness from evangelicals?
Well, I think it's important. I think it's also important that they recognize that I have not hidden from the facts of my life, that I have confessed my weaknesses, and that I have had to go to God for forgiveness and for reconciliation.
The other attraction could lie in his defense of America as a Christian nation and his no-hold-barred criticism of radical Islam.
I understand that there's a war against religion. I'm prepared to actually fight back for the first time in their lifetime and take on the judiciary when it's overreaching and when it's trying to drive God out of life.
He wants to put God back in America. He's tired of the socialist agenda and, all other religions are great except Christianity. He's not going to allow that to happen.
Newt Gingrich's campaign knows that if they're going to win here in Florida, they're going to have to get a major turnout from evangelicals. It worked in South Carolina, and here in Florida, it's a well-oiled machine as well. In the last few days, Gingrich has again reached out to evangelicals with multiple church appearances and a conference call with more than 1,000 listeners. The audio of that call will be sent out to another 100,000 evangelicals. Gingrich has spent years meeting with pastors here in Florida and elsewhere, and now he's tapping into that vast network.
There are thousands and thousands of emails every day going around this state between evangelicals pointing out why Newt Gingrich is the man to be behind.
Evangelicals are expected to make up about a third of the vote in Florida, and Gingrich is going to need them if he's to have a chance at victory. David Brody, CBN News in Tampa, Florida.
New York City churches are uniting to send a message to their state leaders. They want the House and Senate to pass a bill reversing the city's ban on worship services in public schools. That bill could come up this week, and more than 1,000 churchgoers rallied Sunday to support the measure. Ephraim Graham has the story from New York on this 16-year battle.
More than 60 congregations hold worship services in a New York City public school each Sunday. That's an estimated 17,000 people the city's Department of Education will evict in just 2 weeks because of a policy banning worship services in public schools. And many of those are marching here across the Brooklyn Bridge and into Manhattan and on to City Hall. They hope to send a loud message. Come on, our God is an awesome God, He reigns.
This march is an opportunity for the body of Christ to come together and demonstrate to New York City what it will look like if you kick 17,000 people out of their churches. Because the body of Christ is constantly taking hits, and we mobilize for earthquakes, we mobilize for devastation, but we just allow ourselves to take all these black eyes without doing something about it. And this is Christians, this is something we can do, that God is okay with.
You pastor one of the largest Hispanic churches in the city. What's your message to the mayor and the governor?
Mayor, you know that we have over 60 congregations that will be homeless as of February the 12th, 2012. We know that you're a great mayor, we love you, but we cannot be homeless, and you got the power to stop this. Am I right or wrong, people?
Yeah! We never thought it would come to this, but we also thought that if it ever did, it was still worth spending our time renting at John Jay High School.
The march kicks off a critical week for these New York congregations. The state legislature could take up a measure this week to reverse the policy banning worship in public schools. Ephraim Graham, CBN News, New York.
We will keep you updated on that story, and Ephraim will have an in-depth report on this controversy on Wednesday's 700 Club. A jury in Canada has found 3 Muslim family members guilty of committing 4 so-called honor killings. An Afghan-born immigrant, his wife, and eldest son killed the man's 3 daughters because they dishonored their Muslim family by defying rules on dress, dating, and socializing. The man's second wife from a polygamous relationship was also murdered. Canada's Justice Minister calls honor killings barbaric and unacceptable in Canada. St. Louis held the country's first big welcome home parade for veterans of the Iraq War Saturday. Tens of thousands of people waved American flags and cheered as about 600 veterans walked along the downtown streets. The parade was born out of a simple conversation between 2 friends in St. Louis just a month ago.
We were out having dinner, and the conversation kind of turned to, I guess, the discussion in the national media about whether or not we should or shouldn't have a parade to celebrate the end of the Iraq War. You know, we thought that was all just kind of ridiculous, and we were wondering why something hadn't been planned. So we just threw it out there and said, well, let's have a parade.
And they had one. People held signs with messages including "Welcome home" and "Thanks to our servicemen and women." Some of the troops wiped away tears as they acknowledged support from a crowd that organizers estimated reached 100,000 people. The South Dakota House has voted to put academic study of the Bible back in public schools. Supporters say students should be aware of the role the Bible has played in the development of literature, art, culture, and public discourse. But critics argue the measure violates the separation of church and state. The resolution now heads to the state Senate there. CBN is giving typhoon victims in the Philippines help in their time of need. Thousands in the Philippines are homeless after a recent string of typhoons. 21-year-old Rafael has lost his home. His father was struggling to find work, and his family was barely making ends meet. CBN stepped in to help get Rafael's family back on their feet. Rafael was given a bike so that he doesn't have to walk to school any longer, and his father was given a set of tools to help him rebuild a home for his family, as well as a fishing net to help him earn a living again. Rafael says the relief made it possible to have a better future in the Philippines. You can find out more about what CBN is doing around the world by logging on to cbn.com/international.